understanding, and more importantly, the patience you showed Cherie. I can still recall the number of times that you would paint a room and Cherie would change her mind about the colour. And you would just say, "Okay, Cherie, what colour now?" and paint the room again. To Richard and Tiffany, you were blessed with an amazing set of parents. Your mother is a special person. We all know that. And everybody here today is here to say, thank you, Cherie, for the privilege of knowing you. To Cherie, I say, thank you for being my sister.
We found out that their car had broken down and they were stranded on Skye until the new VW clutch arrived from Germany. We decided to take the girls back to Broadford, had dinner with them and stayed for a couple of days. I arranged to see Cherie in 2 months' time at Royal Albert Hall in London after a concert in which I was playing the trombone. Some weeks later, I received a letter saying that she could not go to London as she had fallen out the back of the automobile and was in Edinburgh Great Western Hospital having her back operated on. I drove the 350 miles to be at her side, and after a few weeks she was allowed to come home and stay and recuperate at the Keetleys. She quickly bonded with my mother, as they were both Virgos. But this meant for me that the expected level of perfectionism had doubled. She learned to crochet from my mother and was astounded how quickly she learned. She would often come to a show where I was playing in the orchestra pits and spend time honing her crochet skills as well as constructive criticism of the orchestra. I soon knew that the less crocheting she had done, the more she enjoyed the performance. We realised that we both loved jazz and went to see such greats as the NJQ, Brubeck, Maynard Ferguson, Humphrey Lyttelton, Dizzy, Kenny Ball, Chris Barber, the list goes on. She experienced her first white Christmas when we went hiking in Derbyshire moors in blizzard conditions on Christmas Day. We became engaged and were going to get married in the UK, as I had a secure job and Cherie, as a teacher, was welcomed everywhere she went. We eventually decided to come to Australia to get married on the basis that it would only cost me 10 quid. And if things didn't work out, we could return to the UK. Cherie finished her world trip on ship and I came later as a £10 pom. Cherie had organised the wedding well in advance, but I only arrived 5 days before the wedding due to the administration of the assisted passage. I arrived after a torturous 5-stop, 60-hour flight, which was the norm in those days, in trepidation of meeting Cherie's parents for the first time. I was welcomed into Cherie's family, which had the same loving principles as my own. My world suddenly went into fast mode, fast forward, meeting new people, getting driver's license, reception hall, place to live, sunburn, meet the minister, jet lag, and such names as Woolloongoloo and Orry Street. I thought it was a foreign language. None of my family or friends would come to Australia as it was considered as a colony of criminals, snakes, spiders, kangaroos and searing heat, and that nothing really existed outside the UK anyway. We were married in the middle of one of Sydney's heat waves, riding in a horse and buggy from the church to the reception, and I wondered then whether my friends in the UK had been right. Our happiest and most exciting time was the birth of Richard and Tiffany, when we had long parties called Wetting the Baby's Hair. They have been the best children in the world and we love them very, very much. Their support during Cherie's long illness has been immeasurable. Our 2 grandchildren, Kai and Oki, have been wonderful and I'm sure that they have been instrumental in keeping Cherie going this last 5 years. We love going on holidays and managed to fit in the extremes. Travelling light meant taking 5 suitcases instead of 6. But still 3 of them appeared to contain shoes. We skied in Europe and we skied in America. We trekked across the game reserves in Africa, at one stage standing 50 metres away from a pride of lions, under instructions not to move. Not that that was needed. We lived in a village with the Kalahari Bushmen, and 3 weeks later stayed in the Victoria Falls Hotel at the height of colonialism. We climbed in the Himalayas after training for 7 days in the Lake District in the UK, staying at night in 5-star hotels, so it was off with the boots and on with the dinner set. We marvelled at the 5,000-year-old civilization in Egypt, where I was offered 30 camels for my daughter Tiffany, and she was scared that I might accept. We stayed at the palace in Cairo, built for the first production of Aida. We loved cruising, and once crossed the Atlantic with the Glenn Miller Orchestra on board. We loved ballroom dancing, and achieved our gold medals in our exams. We dined at the top of Radio City in New York, and danced on the revolving floor, where the band played non-stop until we, the last patrons, left in the early hours of the morning. We loved New Orleans and danced in the streets. We danced in the Victoria Centre, Sydney, to Trevor Ribbingale's music one lunchtime. We stayed in Arizona on a Navajo Indian reserve, and Cherie managed to negotiate front row seats to be at the first presidential address given to the Indians. We were introduced to President Clinton, who was absolutely charming to Cherie, but I was sure glad she wasn't wearing a blue dress. Cherie was a very visual person. Everything had to match, be tasteful, decorative, and coordinated. She was the star pupil of June Daly Watkins, and her mentor was Audrey Hepburn. House renovations were a constant way of life. The word structurally impossible, which I once tried, were not part of her vocabulary. She had an ability to turn a piece of 4x2 into a work of art just by its position in the room. While she was out one day, a load of bricks was delivered, and upon her return she was horrified that it looked ugly, and politely asked the bricklayer to move them to a new location. He could hardly speak English, but the response was, "Jesus Christ, missus, the bricks were moved." I never did manage to get to the bottom of my to-do list. Cherie loved auctions, buying such things as a 500-kilogram ship anchor, heavy antique furniture, mangles, etc., always leaving me with the logistics of how to get them home. One day she brought home a large railway clock and hung it on the wall. It ticked away for some hours. Later the hands had not moved, so I investigated to find out that it was a non-working electric clock, and she had put a wind-up alarm clock inside and changing the time manually to make me think it was a good buy. A length of wire and plugged into the electricity solved the problem. Dinner parties and anniversaries were an artistic production, with candles, atmosphere, live music of paramount importance. Cherie was a superb cook and was able to produce a gourmet meal from an apparently male empty fridge. My brother-in-law has always said that I drew the short straw and got landed with the expensive sister. Well, if that was the case, then all I can say is it's the best money I ever spent. Cherie loved school and spent 5th class helping the teachers teach. In Year 12, she led a school debating team and won the New South Wales school debating competition. This is probably why I could never win an argument. Her academic results were superb, obtaining the marks to do either law or medicine. But her passion was education, and so went to Sydney Uni and graduated as a teacher. She also completed her London College of Music exams on pianoforte and theory, which allowed her to teach music and gave many a child their first musical experience. Her first appointment was in Newtown, a class of 30, of which 70% could not speak English, and 8 different languages were spoken. Her philosophy was that the teacher's job was to get through to everyone in the class with no excuses,